On August 26, 1346, in northern France, 40,000 men stood in formation. This are the finest knights in Christendom, with their armor gleaming and the war banners snapping in the wind, as if they are destined for glory. But unfortunately for them, by sunset, 1,500 of them will be corpses. Their blood will soak into French soil and their horses dead as well, while their expensive armors will be stripped by scavengers. This is the story of an extinction event of warriors. To understand how this happened, you need to know one thing about the medieval warfare theater. Knights didn't just fight. They performed because they were walking investments, each one of them worth more than a village. They undergo 10 years of training, with a fortune in equipment, so all they have in mind is that they were untouchable. But unfortunately, things is about to get crazy. In July 1346, King Edward III of England lands in Normandy with 14,000 men. He was outnumbered 3-1, but he doesn't care. And for 6 weeks, King Edward was burning his way across France. This is not random destruction. It was a calculated provocation. He burned down multiple villages, destroyed a lot of farmlands, and slaughtered several livestock. The purpose of him doing all this was just to provoke the French king, insulting his honor and making it impossible for the French king to ignore him. But unfortunately, King Philip VI takes the bait. He immediately assembled the largest army France has ever fielded, knights from every corner of the kingdom, mercenaries from Genoa, including crossbowmen and infantries. The oriflamme, the sacred red banner of France, is unfurled, and when that banner flies, that means no quarter, no mercy, no prisoners. By late August, Edward's army were cornered. They've been marching for days, looking for a place to cross the Somme River. The French force were already closing in, 40,000 strong and 8,000 mounted knights, the largest concentration of armored cavalry ever assembled. Edward's men are exhausted, and they are already on low supplies. At this point, Edward had a choice. It was either he run and be hunted down on open ground, or he stand and fight. But guess what? He literally chooses a hillside near a village called Crecy. Here's what makes this location brilliant and terrifying. There are woods on both flanks, and it can't be outflanked also. A gentle slope, doesn't look steep, but it's enough to make horses tired charging uphill in full armor with terraced ground that breaks up formations.
If you want to hear more stories like this, battles where strategy defeated strength, where the impossible became real, where one decision changed the course of nations, then subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter of history.
Edward looks at the sky and sees dark clouds rolling in from the west. On the morning of August 26th, it started raining. Now this gets even more interesting because Edward has already spent the day positioning his army. They all eat and rest. Now they're all calm and prepared for the battle. Meanwhile, the French armies are being forced to march through the rain because they are so desperate to catch them. They've been walking since dawn with no food and no rest, just the promise of English blood. Now Edward did something that shocks his own men. He orders his knights to get off their horses. You have to understand, this is insane, because we all know that knights fight mounted. It's their entire identity, their reason for existing. So asking them to fight on foot is like asking a fighter pilot to abandon his jet. But Edward isn't asking, he's commanding. Then the knights had no choice than to get off their horses. They form up in the center, and on both wings, Edward places his real weapon, the archers. You should know these are not just any archers, the English and Welsh longbowmen. 6,000 of them was positioned on both wings. But it gets worse, much worse. Edward arranged his archers in a formation called the harrow, V-shaped wedges. The arrows don't just come from only one direction, they come from angles, overlapping fields of fire, interlocking kill zones. I won't call this a battle formation, to be honest, because it's a meat grinder. It's industrial-scale killing dressed up as medieval warfare. By late afternoon, the French army arrives. They've been marching all day. Their commanders want to wait until morning, so they set up a camp, then have a fresh fight in the morning. But the knights refuse. They can see the English on that hill, and they want blood. Because they've been chasing Edward for weeks, so they don't want to wait another night. King Philip tries to order them to halt, but they ignore him. This is the problem with feudal armies. Everyone thinks they're in charge. The knights look up at Edward's position, outnumbered 3-1, knights on foot, archers in the open. Then the French commanders start laughing, thinking, this isn't going to be a battle, that it's going to be a massacre. They're right about that, but they're just wrong about who's getting massacred. The French send their crossbowmen forward first, 6,000 Genoese mercenaries, the best professional soldiers money can buy. Smart tactics, right? But there's a problem. The Genoese have been marching all day, so their equipment wagons, including the pavises, the large shields they hide behind while reloading, are miles behind, stuck in the mud somewhere. And there's another problem. Their crossbow strings are made of hemp, and when they get wet, they become useless. Normally, longbow strings are made of waxed linen, and water rolls right off. When the Genoese realize this immediately, they loose a few bolts, but the range is pathetic. They try to fall back. They started yelling, "We can't shoot. The strings are ruined. We need our shields." But the French knights don't care. They think the mercenaries are cowards who are refusing to fight. Some of them start shouting, "Kill them! Kill the cowards!" The Genoese are trapped between the English archers ahead and the French knights behind. And then the English archers open fire. Imagine the sound, 6,000 bowstrings releasing simultaneously, a noise like tearing fabric, but massive, like the air itself is being ripped apart. The sky goes dark, not metaphorically. Contemporary accounts describe the arrows as blocking out the sun. The chronicler Froissart, who interviewed survivors, said it looked like snow falling. Except snow doesn't kill you. 30,000 arrows in the first 5 minutes. The Genoese don't stand a chance. They have no shields. Their bowstrings are already wet. So arrows started punching through their light armor. Hundreds of men started falling. The Genoese break, and they run straight into the path of the French cavalry, beginning their charge. Now the French knights have a choice. It's either to stop and wait or ride over their own men. But they choose violence. The first wave of French cavalry charges up the hill through mud, riding over their own fleeing crossbowmen, through the English arrows falling like rain. Well, they're the best heavy cavalry in Europe, the cream of French nobility, Count of Alençon and Count of Blois. They have been trained their entire lives for this moment.
A lifetime of preparation, all leading to this moment.
The horses are screaming, and men keeps falling, but they keep coming. Because that's what knights do. They always charge forward. It's their only move. Their entire military doctrine: close the distance and crash into the enemy line, win through superior armor and horsemanship, except they never reach the line. Here's what a longbow arrow does to armor at 100 yards. It punches through. Not every time, but enough times. The arrows are bodkin pointed, designed specifically to pierce mail. And the horses? They're not armored, not fully. One arrow in the chest, and a 2,000-pound animal is collapsing, crushing its rider, creating a barrier for everyone behind. Bodies pile up. Living horses trip over dead ones. Knights in full armor go down in the mud, can't get up, drown in 3 inches of bloody water. The first charge breaks apart before it reaches the English lines. The survivors stagger back down the hill, so the French do it again and again. Different commanders, same result. The English archers don't even move. They just keep shooting. Their arms are burning, fingers bleeding. But they keep shooting. And again. The sun is setting now. The battlefield is lit by the last red light of day. It matches the mud. 15 charges or 16 charges. The sources differ. Medieval chroniclers couldn't agree. Maybe they lost count. Or maybe the charges blurred together into one continuous slaughter. It doesn't matter, because the result is always the same. By nightfall, the hillside is carpeted with bodies. Horses and men piled so high, they form walls, actual walls. The ground is red mud. The smell, blood, shit, death, is overwhelming. Some French knights, trapped in their armor, are begging for help. The English archers walk among them with daggers, finishing the work. King Philip VI himself is wounded. An arrow through the jaw. His horse was killed under him. His brother, the Count of Alençon, is already dead somewhere in that pile of corpses. His advisors grab him, literally drag him from the battlefield. He's screaming to stay and fight. They don't listen. The French retreat immediately, but the English don't pursue, because why would they? They're exhausted, and the killing isn't done yet. Morning, August 27th, the English send out parties to count the dead, to identify the bodies. Because in medieval warfare, you can ransom nobles. Dead nobles are worthless, but you need to know who they are, for records and for history. The count takes hours. 1,542 French nobles and knights was dead. They are all gone. In one afternoon, King John of Bohemia was dead as well. He was blind, and he insisted on being led into battle anyway. They found him still tied to his horse, both riddled with arrows. The Duke of Lorraine was dead as well. The Count of Flanders also found dead on the battlefield. The Count of Alençon, King Philip's own brother, also dead. 11 princes, 80 banners. The list goes on for pages. And the English casualties, they lost 2 knights, 1 squire, 40 archers, and men-at-arms. A few dozen of Welsh infantry. The disparity is almost unbelievable. 10 to 1, 20 to 1, more. Some sources even claimed the English losses was lower. For centuries, European warfare was built on a simple idea: the mounted knight is supreme and unstoppable. Everything in medieval society reinforced this: the economy, culture, and the religion. Knights were God's chosen warriors. Their armor was blessed. Their swords had names. Poets wrote songs about them. Crecy proved that was a lie. After Crecy, everything changed. For the next 50 years, knights stopped charging on horseback. They dismounted to fight, because staying mounted was suicide. 10 years later, at Poitiers, the English did it again. Same tactics, same result. The French king himself was captured. 54 years later, at Agincourt, they did it a third time. By then, the French should have learned, but they hadn't. The longbow didn't just win a battle, it ended an era.